Alright, what is up you guys? So this is my first in-person car tour, or car video in general, and I'm going to be showing you my car. So this is a 2012 Nissan Murano S. This is a base model, so I'm just going to show you around the car, in the car, basically everything you need to know about it. So I'm just going around the car here. This is what the car looks like. By the way, I really love the way this car looks. It's a really beautiful car. It's got a nice, bubbly, bold kind of styling to it. It's very curvy. Overall, I really like the design a lot. So I've actually owned this car for quite a while now. I bought it in November of 2020. It had about 64,000 miles when I bought it. I've put a couple thousand miles on it, so it has about 68,000 miles now. So I don't really drive a lot, but so far it's been a really good car to me. I haven't had any major issues with it. So far I've only had to replace the alternator a couple months ago because that went bad. I also had to change the battery a year ago, but I mean other than that, it's been a really good car to me, and it's really fun to drive. It's got a V6 engine. It puts out about 260 horsepower, but we'll talk about that later in the video. But yeah, this is a really nice SUV. I believe this is a pearl white color. It looks really nice on this vehicle. I normally am not a fan of white cars, but I think it really works on this vehicle. So now I'm just going to show you guys what's under the hood. So coming around here, the latch to open it is in the center of the hood. If I could even get it open. Alright, so this is a 3.5 liter V6 engine. Puts out about 260 horsepower with 240 pound-feet of torque. Fuel economy is pretty decent. You're looking at a little bit over 20 in the city and 18 on the highway. But in my experience, it's been a pretty fuel efficient car. It's not the most fuel efficient in the world because obviously it is a V6 engine. They use a little bit more gas. And a lot of newer SUVs, especially at this size, are now fitted with more fuel-efficient powertrains. They even put 4-cylinder engines now in newer SUVs. But yeah, I get pretty good fuel mileage out of this, whether it's on the highway or just on the road. So now I'll take you guys to the back of this car and show you what the trunk looks like. So you just press the button under the Nissan emblem. By the way, this is not power lifting. It is a base model, so it doesn't come with things like that. So you do have to open it manually. That's only useful if you want to be able to open your trunk without having to get out the car, which I frankly don't care about. The power liftgate takes forever to open anyways. But here's what the trunk looks like. So just going around here, on both sides you have the levers to pull down those seats. Those are also not power adjustable. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them down. Alright, just like that. So when you fold the seats down, figures are about 32 cubic feet with the seats up. And then when you fold these seats down, that expands to about 64 cubic feet of space. So you get a decent amount of space. And as you can see, here's where the spare tire lives. You just pull that strap up. And you also get a little bit more storage for tools and whatnot. And there's your spare tire. So that's where it is if you ever need it. Alright, and let's go ahead and close that back. And now, I'm going to take you guys inside of the car. I'm going to show you guys the interior. And then after that, I'm going to take it out on the road for a test drive to show you guys how it drives. So when you come around here to the door, you can just press the button on the handle to lock it or unlock it. Or you can obviously just use the key. But my key isn't really working right now, so that's why I'm not using it. But getting in here, this cabin is pretty roomy. You got decent headroom. For some reason, this interior feels bigger than it actually is. So it's quite spacious in here. And so if you look up here, this is the dashboard. You've got some speaker grills on the left and right. And here's the actual speaker in the middle. You got some vents up there. And now coming down to the steering wheel, I'll do a little horn test real quick. So that's what a horn sounds like, in case you wondered. As for the steering wheel itself, it's got a nice feel to it. I put this custom steering wheel cover around it. Definitely makes gripping it a lot easier for me. And I kind of like the black on beige look that it gives off. It kind of does complement the rest of the interior in terms of color. So that's a pretty nice addition there. The steering wheel is also adjustable. So you can tilt it up or down, or you can bring it closer to you. But it's not power operated or anything like that, like you would find in more expensive cars. But I mean, I really don't care. this system is more than good enough for me. I really could care less about that. But then again, this is a base model, so you kind of missed out on that. So this is where you do a little bit of cost cutting. But this is a 2012 car, so I mean, you could probably find even a platinum trim level of this for the same price that I bought this base model. So prices can vary, and that's one of the things I love about used cars. So another thing I want to mention is that because this is a base model, you are missing a whole panel of features on the left side of the steering wheel. So only the higher trim levels might have something to control the infotainment system on the steering wheel, but on this base model you get nothing on the left side. So now I guess I'll show you guys the gauge cluster on this car. So here's what it looks like. It's nothing too special, pretty basic stuff. You got your tachometer on the left, speedometer in the middle. You got a little screen there at the bottom of the speedometer. Gives you various information like your fuel mileage, the oil change interval, the outside temperature, things like that. Comes in pretty handy. I like to keep it on the fuel mileage. Now over here on the right side of the gauge cluster, you have these free buttons, 2 of them to cycle through the center display menus, and then you have a trip reset button. So as you can see here, I can just cycle through all of the various menus of information. Like I said, I like to keep it on the fuel range. That one's the most important to me. And over here on the left side, you have these 2 up and down buttons to control the brightness of the gauge cluster. I like to keep mine on full brightness. And of course, you do have your fuel and temperature gauges on the right, as well as your odometer. And I have to say, I really like this white on red look. It looks really nice, especially at night. A lot of the older Nissans, they had like this orange on red color theme, but this just looks so much better. In my opinion, I just feel like the white on red look is much easier to read for some reason, and the newer Nissans have this all white look on the gauge clusters, but Nissan has always made some pretty nice looking gauges in my opinion, very easy to read. Alright, now coming over here to the center, this is the infotainment system. This is a 7-inch screen. You know, it's an old school looking screen. Very typical of a base model for a car of this age. So obviously the technology is pretty outdated, so it's not like a full LCD display or anything like that. Those come in the higher trim levels, and those have more modern LCD screens, which those also have a map system built in. So they need LCD screens to be able to display the map system. But again, this one being a base model, it just shows basic information because it doesn't have a built-in map system. So it just comes with an older type of display. Just displays really basic information like the AC, your radio, your time, and coming below that, you have a push to start button on the left. Find it really handy. I don't have to fiddle around with keys. I've also got a phone holder right there on my AC vent. And now coming down here, as you can see, here are buttons for the built-in radio. It doesn't have Bluetooth, so instead I just play music through the aux cable. This radio does come with a CD player, which quite honestly, I don't remember the last time I've even picked up a CD. And it's honestly quite surprising because the current gen Murano still has a CD player. So just a fun fact there. And now below that, you have these 6 buttons for the radio. Not sure what those are for. I think those are presets. So could somebody please educate me in the comments? I'm really curious as to what these buttons are for. Below that, you have your AM, FM, disc, and aux buttons. You also have a volume knob on the left, your tuning knob on the right, and then finally below that you have your display clock button, so you can use that to change the time. And then the rest of the buttons are just miscellaneous stuff, which again, I'm not very sure what those are for, so if someone in the comments could educate me, that'd be great. Alright, moving down here, you've got 2 cup holders right there. Here's the center console, or the center storage compartment. I've got all my stuff in there, you know, just got a couple accessories in there. It's also got a cigarette lighter down there, which I never used, to be honest. So let's close that back. So I want to show you guys something. So this car actually has cruise control, which I've honestly never used before, and it lights up here on the dashboard. I honestly don't really know how this works, so unfortunately I won't be able to explain that, but it is there. I didn't think base model cars had this feature in the early 2010s, so I find that pretty interesting. So now, over here, this is the glove compartment. Please don't mind the cup on the ground, by the way. So I have my paperwork in here. I've got some tools for my car, some more accessories, And sorry if I'm jumping around too much. This is my first ever car review, so just bear with me here. But coming back to the center, here's our shifter. I believe it's wrapped in leather, even though my Murano is a base model. You have like lots of hard touch plastic in here, but I mean, I don't really care. This car feels luxurious enough to me with the styling. The seats are made out of cloth, but this shifter is made out of leather, and it's mated to a CVT transmission, which, if you don't already know, it's been very controversial. You've probably heard that Nissan's transmissions tend to fail quite a bit. Now, I personally haven't really had any issues with my transmission. It's been great to me since day one, and I don't really drive that hard anyway, so that probably helps. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there for anyone looking to buy this car. Now, obviously up here you've got your rearview mirror. It's not electronic or anything, it's just a really basic mirror. I believe the higher trim levels of this car do come with a electronic mirror with like a compass built in, but this one doesn't. But I mean, it's cool. Over here, I believe this is called a vanity mirror, so it's got a light built in. Not gonna lie, I almost never use this. You can see my face right there. So this is just pretty standard equipment that comes on every car. So now I'll go ahead and just close that back. And coming over here, here are the center lights. So you have free toggles, you have on, you have door only, and then off. Pretty nice. And over here you have a sunglass holder, I believe that's what it's called. And coming over here to the door, these are the controls. So you got like this knob to adjust the mirrors, so they're actually power mirrors, which is really nice for a base model car. All cars probably have this feature now as standard, so I can adjust them to my liking. Here you also have your window switches. The fronts are automatic. Now down here you have a bunch of blank switches. Again, reminds you that you're in a base model, but you have one for the gas cap and then another one for the traction control. So I actually forgot to mention that there is a cigarette lighter down where the center console is. As you can see, I have my own custom extension there that powers my dash cam. You've also got more blank switches, again reminding you that this is the base model. Alright, so now I'm going to take you guys to the back of this car. So coming to the back of the car, let's pull these seats up real quick. So they just snap into place like that. So we'll go ahead and jump right in the back seat. So now we're in the back of the car, and I will mention that these seats are made out of cloth. It's not like leather or anything like that. Again, this is just the basic model, but I actually somewhat prefer the cloth seats over the leather because they just feel more comfortable, more plush. I just kind of like the fluffiness of cloth seats more, but they do tend to stain more. That could be a pain sometimes, but comfort wise, I really like these cloth seats. And plus, they don't tear as easily as the leather seats, and they're not going to be scorching hot. So functionality wise, I really do like these cloth seats. I've also installed these hangers on the back of the seats, which I never use them. I've also installed these headrest covers to kind of match that black on beige theme that I was going for. So these seats both have pockets, and you can just put in a couple items in there. I'm pretty sure this is standard on every car nowadays. And if we come down here, there's also this storage compartment from the center console, which I've never used to be honest. Here in the center of the back seats, we've got more cup holders. Now I know these are usually a pain to clean, but luckily I hardly ever have any passengers back here, so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, these cup holders can be really hard to clean once they get dirty. Alright, so let's go ahead and close that back. And now, I'm going to be taking this car out on the road for a test drive, so sit back and relax and enjoy the ride. Alright, so now I'm going to take you guys out for a test drive. So again, this engine is a V6 engine. It makes 260 horsepower with 240 pound-feet of torque. It's mated to a CVT transmission. And I have to say, the CVT, as much as people complain about it, it really isn't all that bad. It's just something you got to get used to if you're coming from like a regular automatic car. So the thing with CVTs is that they don't really have any gears. In fact, they probably only have one gear. So what that means is whenever you're accelerating, there is no shifting. So whenever you're accelerating,
you just get a smooth linear acceleration for the most part. Another thing with these transmissions is that people say they tend to fail a lot, but like I said earlier in the video, I personally haven't really had any issues with my CVT. Maintenance really is key. So I would say just take care of it like any other car and you'll do just fine. Like change the oil, you know, just regular maintenance stuff, and you should be just fine. Another thing with these transmissions is that they tend to be more fuel efficient than a regular automatic. So yeah, I mean, I don't really mind the CVT as much as people hate it. Now as for the road noise in this car, road noise is fairly low. You know, this is more of a luxury car, if you will, under the Nissan brand. Even though it is still a Nissan, I have to say, the ride in here is pretty darn luxurious. It almost feels like you're in an Infinity. So like in terms of fit and finish, this car is really solid. And again, the cabin noise is really not that bad at all. I believe this is riding on 16-inch wheels. I've also driven this car in the winter. I've also driven this car on ice. Last year, here where I live, we had a snowstorm last year, and the roads were pretty much covered in ice, and I have to say, this car did handle it well. I mean, it is an SUV after all. You know, SUVs generally are great for that kind of thing. But now, if you're looking to go off-road with this thing, I would say it could probably handle it, but just be careful. Because again, this is built off a car platform. It's not built off a truck platform like, you know, the big SUVs. So overall, this just rides and handles more like a car because it is based off a car platform. And because it's based off a car platform and not a truck platform like some other SUVs, this gives you a more plush, comfortable ride. I'm going about 55 here, and road noise is really not too bad. It handles bumps pretty well. I mean, it's not the best. Okay, so 0 to 60 in this thing, you're probably looking at around over 7.5 seconds. It's not the fastest car in the world. You know, it's a pretty heavy car. And again, it is a CVT transmission, so they don't really get up and go like a regular automatic. So it's not like a race car or anything. So I'm driving on a pretty bumpy road right now, and the car is doing exceptionally well. And if you hear that noise, don't worry about that. That's just my tripod I have right here. It's not the car. And again, these seats are really comfortable in here. They're really plush. You just kind of feel like you're sucked into the seats. And then with the near luxury ride on top of that, overall, this car is a really great package. But trust me when I say the way this car rides is really exceptional. And the thing about the Murano is that it's always been kind of a step ahead compared to its competitors back in the day, but nowadays it's just kind of lost that charm. And I wish Nissan would give it a redesign. Yeah, I just wish Nissan would do something to really spice it up again, because it really has just been lacking compared to its competitors in the recent years. But I mean, this older Murano is you really do get a lot for the money. In terms of braking, the brakes are pretty easy to modulate in this car. I did get them replaced. They were starting to go out, so I replaced them, and now they feel even more responsive. But I mean, yeah, this car has been a really good car to me since I had bought it in November of 2020. And again, fuel mileage in this car is about 20 in the city and 18 on the highway. So not the best, because even at the time, this was quite common for a mid-size SUV of this size. So for a guy like me, I don't really drive a lot, so that kind of helps when it comes to the fuel mileage. And I've been getting a pretty good run out of this car. I usually always pay around $40 to fill this thing up, and I usually fill up when the tank is like a quarter left. Now the turn radius on this car is pretty strong, so you really won't have an issue making sharp U-turns. I've done the sharpest of U-turns in this car, and it's handled it pretty well. So if you're looking at this car and you find it for a really good price, I would say definitely go for it. You're really not going to be disappointed in terms of the ride, in terms of what you get, in terms of the cabin. It overall really packs a lot for being a Nissan. And again, it really was kind of a step ahead from its competitors back in the day. So I would say definitely give this car a shot if you find it at a good price. But don't go driving it like a race car or anything like that. You're probably going to burn out your CVT. Stay on top of maintenance, change your oil, you know, just basic things like that, and you should be ecstatic.
Alright you guys, so I'm back home. I'm back in the studio. I hope you guys enjoyed that test drive. I also hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to the channel. It really does help me out. And are you guys thinking about buying this vehicle? Do you guys own this vehicle? How has it been for you? Feel free to ask me anything about this vehicle in the comments below. I will be sure to answer them. And I just want to say, I also have some exciting content coming up. I'm going to be making more car videos like this in the future. I'm going to be reviewing the newest and latest cars. And yeah, you're going to be seeing more car videos from me from now on. I'm trying to get more into the automotive world. So yeah, what do you guys think about this video? Was it good for my first car video? Do you guys have any suggestions or improvements I can make to make these videos better? But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.